On makeup in front of a mirror, tells this to her friends and explains that her ex-husband Nick was a clear example of such men who had no idea what she wanted from him. This woman is Gigi, who is the ex-wife of the man Nick.
Nick, my ex-husband, I don't think he understood a thing about me.
A secretary at Nick's office tells her employee about Nick and says that Nick is a total bachelor and a politically incorrect guy, but he is really good at his work. A flashback of Nick's childhood appears with Gigi narrating it. She explains that Nick's mother was a true showgirl who kept Nick exposed to the explicit side of women. Nick was born and raised in Las Vegas by his single mother. A young kid, Nick, appears who is sitting backstage with his mother while she is putting on makeup for the show. The passing by showgirls all adore Nick and kiss Nick's cheeks while passing by him. Nick only smiles and enjoys the affection given by such women. The showgirls all throw a grand birthday party for Nick at the show theater and click a photo together. The photo still hangs in Nick's bedroom. Nick, who is now a grown man, turns sides on his bed until he is woken up by his maid, Stella. The lipstick mark on Nick's check depicts that he had another adventurous night. Stella starts scolding Nick to have some control over himself. She picks up an undergarment and tells Nick to at least find a girl who wears proper underwear to sleep with. Nick playfully calls Stella babe and tells her that he can always call her to sleep with him, but Stella laughs and shrugs him off. Nick then asks Stella to make him a sandwich so he can leave for work and have a good day.
Toss me my lighter, could you, babe?
Babe, I don't like finding these things in your sofa. What kind of woman was that?
Hey, my mother wore underwear like that, all right? Just...
After having breakfast, Nick leaves his house to get some coffee from a cafe. Just as Nick enters the cafe, he bumps into a beautiful blonde woman carrying some cups of coffee. The coffee spills on her shirt, and Nick quickly uses his professional talking method to mesmerize the girl. He starts wiping the coffee off from the girl's shirt while charming her, which causes the girl to forgive Nick quickly. The woman leaves the cafe, and Nick heads to the counter to place his order. Nick is already familiar with the cafe workers and goes straight to the woman on the counter to flirt with her. He uses his charm and tries to persuade the girl to go on a date with him. The girl refuses flatly, but Nick uses his knowledge about women and is able to make the girl agree to go on a date with him. Nick winks at the girl and takes his coffee to leave. A man in the waiting line witnesses Nick's actions and is amazed by such skills. He praises Nick for his smooth talk, and Nick proudly accepts the compliment and leaves. Nick works as an advertisement agent in his firm. He arrives at the company and meets his friend Morgan. Morgan tells him the news that their co-worker Darcy McGuire has left the company. Nick stops on his tracks and asks Morgan if Darcy left the company or was she fired. Morgan informed him that it has not been cleared whether she left or was fired. Nick smiles and passes a sarcastic comment about Darcy.
So heard Darcy McGuire left BBD&O.
Left or was fired?
I don't know, I just know everyone over there.
He hurries on the stairs to get to his office. Nick then excuses himself and tells Morgan that he is soon getting promoted today, so he is in a great mood. Being the social person, Nick greets everyone in the office and passes compliments to everyone. Nick's assistant informs him about the advertisement campaign while Nick walks to his office. Nick only nods and tells her that today is the day he is going to get promoted to a higher position. Nick's coworker and his secretary all swoon at Nick's charms and wish him luck. Nick then happily makes his way to his boss's office to get the good news himself, but he is left there with shock. Nick walks in and sits in front of his boss, who instead of giving him the good news of promotion, begins to scold him. He explains that the consumers of their products are women in the age bracket of 16 years to 24 years. Nick's boss explains that with Nick's advertisement, the company has lost their direction to their product advertisement. Nick still stays confident and tries to defend himself, but Nick's boss simply tells Nick that he has decided to hold Nick's promotion. He informed Nick that he had hired the woman named Darcy McGuire, whom Nick earlier called a man-eater, in front of his boss. Nick is left speechless by his boss's decision. His boss directly gets to the point and tells Nick that he has appointed Darcy as the new creative director.
Women between the ages of 16 and 24. We're talking about girls who were born in the mid-'80s. What do you know about Darcy McGuire?
I never met the woman, but I hear she's a real man-eater. Bitch on wheels.
That's very funny.
You made her creative director.
Because I just hired her.
After the bomb of this bad news is dropped on Nick, he leaves his boss's office and walks back with a defeated look on his face. After Nick reaches his office, he is welcomed by his secretary, who opens a champagne bottle for Nick. Nick catches the cork on time and tells them the bad news that he wasn't promoted. After his defeat to get promoted, Nick attends his ex-wife Gigi's wedding, where he tries to charm Gigi again. He asks her if he can kiss the bride, and Gigi happily agrees. Gigi introduces her new husband to Nick and informs him that she and her husband are leaving for a 2-week honeymoon. Nick smiles at the idea, unaware of Gigi's next request to him. Gigi asks Nick to take care of their daughter Alex while she is away on her honeymoon. Nick gets shocked and stares at Gigi. Gigi also informs Nick that their daughter has a boyfriend now, which enrages Nick. Alex walks to them and quietly talks to Nick. Nick wants to talk to Alex about her boyfriend, but Alex quickly bids them goodbye and walks away. The next day, Nick goes to their company meeting about their next advertisement launch discussion, where he already expresses his displeasure about Darcy. He looks around the room to spot Darcy, but his pen falls from his table. Nick bends down to pick it up when he notices a pair of beautiful legs. Nick's attention is quickly caught by the legs, and he quickly stands up to see the person behind the beauty. To Nick's shock, this pair of attractive legs belongs to Darcy, his rival in the firm. He smiles and shakes hands with Darcy, introducing himself. He tries to spark up a conversation with her, but Darcy keeps their conversation professional and walks to the podium to give her a briefing about the project. Nick's gaze gets fixated on Darcy, and he finds himself getting drawn to her. Darcy keeps the meeting very professional and explains her designs and products.
Join our team.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you all. Now, I love challenges. I love hard work. You want to sell an anti-wrinkle cream, or I have put together a little kit for everybody.
She hands over boxes to each person attending the meeting and tells them to check the products inside. Morgan and Nick, who have been completely non-serious in the meeting, open the boxes and find feminine products inside. Morgan gasps and jokes about the products to Nick, but Nick is serious and tries to understand the assignment given to them. Darcy announces that each employee has to test these products and write a pitch about them. Everyone starts leaving after the meeting has ended, but Nick is still trying to figure out Darcy's motive behind this idea. He goes back home and decides to try these products on himself. Nick changes his clothes and puts on music on the player. He starts dancing and exercising to make himself get concentration on the project. He tries to make himself feel feminine so he can understand the female psychology. He starts dancing around, but the music doesn't do much for him. He looks through Alex's music CDs and finds girly music. He plays along and starts feeling like a woman. He looks himself in the mirror and calls himself a girl. He tries to stop cheering up and starts checking the products. After seeing the products, Nick is shocked to see such kinds of new products. A new world of women opens in front of him as he starts going through the products one by one. Nick begins to drink alcohol to fully immerse himself in the girly music. Nick has already painted his nails in different colors and puts on a pore cleansing nose strip on his nose. He lights up a cigarette and looks at his reflection. Nick starts complaining about why women have to do this to themselves. Finally, he begins understanding the pain women go through to look good for a man's eye. Nick takes another sip of the wine bottle and gets himself ready for the next product. He opens the box and takes out a pair of black stockings. He stares at them for a second and wonders how such a thin fabric is going to fit his thick legs. To test his theory, he starts putting on the stockings like socks. Nick is still struggling to pull the stockings on his legs when Alex walks in on him. Alex gets flustered to see her father in such a state and is about to walk out, but Nick stops them. Nick notices that Alex has come home with her boyfriend and gets embarrassed that he has made such a bad impression on Alex's boyfriend. Nick tries to play it cool and shakes hands with Alex's boyfriend. Alex introduces her boyfriend as Cameron. Cameron sees the nail paint on Nick's hands and tells Nick that he has put on a pretty color. Nick understands that Cameron has just tried to pass a sarcastic comment on him, but chooses to ignore it for his daughter's sake. Nick turns around to find something when he sees Alex and Cameron kissing in a mirror in the bathroom. He quickly looks back, but Cameron has already left. Nick quickly questions Alex about the kiss, but Alex dodges the question and asks her father if he has been snooping around her stuff to find those girly songs. Nick tries to stop arguing with her, but Alex storms off from the bathroom after she realizes that her father didn't even bother remembering her boyfriend's name. Nick goes back in the bathroom to process the incident. He is about to check the next product when he remembers Alex's boyfriend's name. He calls after Alex and tells her that he remembers Cameron's name, but a box of beads gets knocked down on the ground. Nick steps on the beads and loses his balance. He falls in the tub and tries to catch up with Alex, but since the hairdryer, which was earlier in Nick's hand, flies in the air and falls in the bathtub, Nick gets electrocuted. Sharp and painful sensations start convulsing Nick's body, who then falls on the ground unconscious. The next day, Nick is woken up by Stella, who comes to stop at his house to clean. She wakes him and tells him to be careful with his life. She turns back and starts walking to the bedroom, but the series of complaints from her mouth doesn't stop. She complains about cleaning up Nick's mess, and Nick hears everything. Nick washes his face and asks Stella why she is such a bad mood today. Stella simply turns back and looks at Nick with a confused expression since Stella has not said a single thing. Nick gets confused, as he clearly heard Stella's complaints earlier.
The man doesn't pay me enough for the things I have to do. I'd like to sleep till 8 o'clock.
Ooh, are we in a mood today?
Did I say anything?
After getting ready, Nick heads to his office, but on his way, Nick notices that something is different from his normal routine. He walks past the people and realizes that he can hear everyone's thoughts. The lady in her jogging routine, the women admiring the day, and even the poodle dog who is telling its owner that it wants to poop. Nick gets overwhelmed and quickly runs to his office. In his office, Nick hears everyone's inner thoughts and realizes that everyone around him has a fake facade in them. The women he complimented in the office all hate Nick. Nick is surprised to see his colleagues putting on a fake smile to greet Nick.
He nearly killed me.
More.
Don't look up. He'll make me hear another. He's such a schmuck.
Oh, lighten up with that aftershave, buddy.
But inside their minds, they are already cursing out Nick. Nick goes to his office and finds his secretaries. To Nick's surprise, his assistants, despite him treating them badly, think positively about him. Nick sighs in relief, but his head hurts from all the thoughts of others flooding in him. Morgan comes to Nick's office to inform him about his meeting with Darcy at 8:30. Nick finally bursts with his frustration and tells Morgan that he can't deal with her right now. Morgan gets worried and asks his friend if he is all right. Morgan takes Nick out of his office to calm him down. Nick feels overwhelmed and tells Morgan everything. He explains that he has the ability to read any woman's mind, even female dogs as well. Morgan tries to test Nick and asks him a few questions. After Morgan confirms that Nick actually has got the ability to read any woman's mind, he pulls him aside and tells him to keep everything a secret.
I could hear what every woman around me was thinking. She thinks you're overpaid and gay.
You can hear the innermost thoughts of a French poodle.
A nerdy girl carrying her food tray passes by them and thinks of a suicide plan. He thinks about if her suicide is going to affect anyone or not. She goes to the stairs and expresses her worries about getting the shattered glass on anyone. Nick looks at her with pity, but chooses to not interfere with her matter. Morgan gives a pep talk to Nick and gets him ready to go to the meeting with Darcy. In the meeting, Nick is able to hear Darcy's inner thoughts. He realizes that Darcy is as nervous about the meeting as everyone else, but she puts on a professional face and keeps calm in front of everyone. His meeting begins, and Nick gets distracted from all the comments about him that his colleagues are thinking. Nick looks at Darcy and hears her thoughts about him. Darcy thinks that Nick is a serious worker who is working on this project with great efforts. Nick smiles and glances at Darcy, who is amazed that Nick is still keeping eye contact with her. Darcy bends down to pick up the pen, and Nick uses this opportunity to sneak a peek inside Darcy's shirt. He is amazed to see her body and tries to keep a serious face. He sits down, and Darcy asks her team for new ideas. Nick thinks for a while. Nick quickly scans the room and hears another woman's thoughts about Advil. He thinks that Advil is some sort of women's product and quickly explains his idea to his colleagues. All the male colleagues agree, but the woman who was originally the owner of this idea looks at Nick in a strange way and states that Advil is actually something completely different from what Nick is describing. Nick gets embarrassed and sits back on his seat next to Morgan. Morgan laughs and asks Nick if a French poodle gave Nick the idea about Advil.
I don't think Advil will go for it. Every woman in America will hate it. Other than that...
Poodle give you that one?
After another tiring day at work, Nick goes back home and hears Alex's inner thoughts when he enters his house. As soon as he hears the explicit things in Alex's mind, he barges in and asks Alex to separate herself from Cameron. He quickly scolds Alex, Cameron, but after finding out that Cameron is older than Alex, he forbids Alex to go to the prom with Cameron, as he heard that Alex is planning to have sex with Cameron in her head. Nick disapproves of Cameron, and an argument breaks out between Alex and Nick. Cameron uses this chance to slip out of Nick's house, and Alex chases after him. Nick feels disappointed and decides that he doesn't want to have his gift anymore. He does the same routine as he did last night and takes a hairdryer to the balcony. It's already raining, so Nick raises his hairdryer and wishes to be struck by lightning. The next day, he wakes up and quickly runs out to test his powers. After getting out of his house, Nick doesn't find a single woman, so he decides to go to a mall and check his powers. A few minutes in the mall, and Nick thinks that he has lost his gift, but sometime later, he finds himself surrounded by a lot of women and their inner thoughts. Nick quickly rushes to a psychiatrist named Dr. Perkins and tells her about his problem. At first, Dr. Perkins doesn't believe Nick, but after Nick guesses some of Dr. Perkins's inner thoughts, she is convinced about his gift.
Come on, pick a number. Give it a whirl. Any number.
Okay.
644,900.
I didn't say anything.
I know, but that does not mean...
She tells Nick that he has a great gift, which can help him rule the world by having both male and female perspectives of this world. Nick leaves her office triumphantly and goes straight to his usual cafe. He reads the waitress's mind and asks her out on a date again by changing his personality based on the girl's ideal man. The girl agrees, and Nick goes to meet Darcy this time. He walks into her office and hears her inner thoughts that she thinks Nick is always checking her out. Nick quickly diverted his eyes to the posters on the walls and started to change the topic. He tries to show Darcy a serious facade of himself and answers Alex's call in front of her. Nick pretends to be a good father and even talks nicely to Alex. Alex angrily hung up the phone after telling her father about the prom. Nick dramatically says a lovely goodbye to Alex even after she has hung up the call to prove Darcy that he is a great father. Darcy starts thinking of Nick highly and gets impressed by him.
It's fine. I love you too.
Shocker, he's like a nice guy.
Sorry, duty calls.
She's 15?
Yeah.
Moving on to his actual plan, Nick keeps asking Darcy about the biggest catchy idea she has in her mind. He boldly asks her what product is the whole product in her mind. Darcy thinks of this question as weird and avoids answering about it. Nick reads her mind and gives her idea to their boss before she can. Darcy is shocked that Nick has guessed her idea, but she has no way to prove that it was her idea. Back at home, Nick follows Darcy's advice and tries to impress Alex's friends and Alex. He tells the girls that they can go shop their favorite prom dress together and order as much as they want without worrying. Alex's friend gets overjoyed that Alex has such a great father. Meanwhile, Alex is also taken aback by Nick's idea.
And I also wanted to know if maybe I'd like to take you shopping for a prom dress.
You want to take me shopping so I can go to the prom with them?
Well, nice to have met you too. I hope to see you again soon.
After meeting Alex, Nick goes straight to his date with the waitress Lola, but after heading to their main part of the date, Nick realizes that he lacks some skills in bed. He is hit with the reality that his skills are not up to par at all, so he uses his powers to read the girl's mind to improve his performance in bed. The next day, Nick starts getting closer to Darcy in the office to stake her ideas. Nick catches up to her and submits his final proposal, completely similar to Darcy's, which makes the boss think that Darcy is not as capable as he thought she was. Slowly, Nick starts stealing all of Darcy's ideas and makes her feel like he is simply so good at his job that he can already think of the same ideas as the creative designer. Darcy starts pulling late-night shifts to cover for her incompetency at work, and Nick feels bad about stealing her ideas. Nick and Darcy slowly gets closer to each other, and Nick starts working on his relation with his daughter. He helps Alex pick a beautiful pink dress for her prom, which makes Alex like her father more. Nick again reads Alex's inner thoughts and tries to warn her about Cameron, but again Alex walks away telling her father that he himself never settled on one relationship, so how can he advise her about relationships? Nick feels bad and hangs out with Darcy. After finding out that Darcy feels incompetent on her job, a pang of guilty hits Nick like a brick.
This has not been a great thing in my life. The better I did, the worse we did. Get out there on my own. I'm sure I could do the job.
He regrets stealing her ideas and decides that he is going to make it up for her. Back at home, Nick is struck with a new shock. Alex and Cameron broke up on their prom. Alex breaks down in the bathroom while Nick tries his best to comfort her. Finally, Alex comes out and goes to sleep after talking to her father. Nick calls Darcy, and they go out for some drinks. On their date, Darcy thinks of kissing Nick, and Nick allows her to do so. The kiss turns into a long burning passion, and they both start understanding each other's feelings well. After the date, Darcy invites Nick to come to her apartment, but he refuses and tells her that he wants to take things slow. The next day, Nick sees the depressed girl again and decides to find the source of her depression. After asking his secretaries, he finds out that this girl applied as a copywriter to Nick, but Nick turned her offer down, which made her feel so bad. Nick has been working on his relationship with all his female colleagues, and this time they generally think of Nick as one of their own. Nick finds out that the depressed girl is not attending the office that day, so he goes to her house and finds a last letter written by her to her mother. He quickly stops her from suicide and asks her to be his copywriter. The girl cheers up and discards the idea about suicide.
And we have a job opening in our. She once applied for a job as a copywriter.
But you were unavailable, and then
Now I'm available, and
I'm unbelievably available.
The next day, Nick walks to his office and notices that Darcy is not there at work. He asks his boss about it, who explains that he has fired Darcy since Nick is making such amazing progress instead of Darcy. Nick convinces his boss to hire back Darcy, as she is the one pitching the ideas, not him. The boss agrees, and Nick runs to Darcy's apartment to find her. During his journey, he is struck by lightning, which causes him to lose his powers. He goes to Darcy's apartment and confesses everything about stealing her ideas and causing her to get fired. He apologizes and asks for her forgiveness.
I took advantage of you in the worst possible way. Embarrassed that I told you I needed to be rescued.
After getting disappointed by Darcy's behavior, Nick turns to leave. After almost crossing half the stairs, Darcy calls him back up and forgives him for his mistake. They kiss, and finally, they both become a couple.